Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. If you didn't hear the trailer, my name is Feolami Joseph, and I am going to be your host of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. I think it's always important to have some sort of backstory to the people who listen to you, which is exactly what I'm going to be doing in today's episode. So, most people call me Feolami, but my full name is Olua Feolami Joseph. I am from Lagos, Nigeria, and I am currently a young leader and change maker myself. The Youth Have a Voice is a project under College Guide Africa, which is a community I founded and which may be where some of you who are listening to me today found this podcast from. If you've been following College Guide Africa for the past year and a half, or you just started following us this year on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, or Twitter, I am the creator and should I say the founder of College Guide Africa. I decided to create College Guide Africa as a way to help students in Africa and in the diaspora who are interested in studying abroad or locally, going to university, building up career pathways for themselves, getting internships and or full-time jobs, and generally being productive. Inherently, the vision is to guide youth in making educational advancement choices, building up career pathways for themselves, and improving skill development amongst youth across all levels, and ultimately greatly reducing the unemployment rate in Africa. As a member of the youth and Gen Z myself, I started College Guide Africa when I was about 16 years old, and I'm 18 now, and I'll be 19 in a couple of months. Back then, I really just wanted to help my classmates at the time who were unsure of where to begin with their university applications and what they needed to do in order for them to stand out. And since then, this has grown to a community of over 30,000 amazing people across all our platforms globally, which I am extremely grateful for. For a continent where 70% of the population is below 30, according to the United Nations, you see why this is a really important subject which I have been working on and doing my own part to help students and young people. I think one of the things that warms my heart when I sometimes look at the comments and read what people are saying on my page and see people's opinions is the excitement and maybe even the relief when they realize that some of the things and information that they didn't know was possible and available has been able to open up their minds to endless opportunities that surround them that they were unexposed to. So I'm sure someone may be wondering, how do I do this at my age? Like, don't I go to school? How am I able to manage all of this at the same time? I'm also a law student, though I'm studying through online learning, and I'm also working as a paralegal and HR assistant here in Lagos. In one of the coming episodes, I'll definitely be talking about time management and all. But today, I think apart from the introduction which I've just done, I want to speak about procrastination. My first word with regards to this is that if there's something you had written down at the start of the year to begin, which you haven't done yet, as soon as you're done listening to me today, I would like you to make a conscious effort to begin. It's 2024 and it's the fifth month of the year by the time you're listening to this podcast. Even if someone ends up listening to this podcast in December, make an effort to begin that thing you promised yourself in January of 2024 or December of 2023 that you said you were going to begin. You don't need to have all the equipment or all the money or all the followers in the world. The most important thing is beginning and seeing it through and not caring what other people think of you or what your mind is saying that other people think of you. Over time, you'll be able to see how time will transform the craft or idea you decided to begin. Or you could decide to start with content creation, or writing a book, or training for a competition, or even starting a really ambitious project that you are scared may end up failing. You can use me as an example or form of motivation. I started College Guide Africa with a laptop, the internet, and Canva. And by God's grace, I've been able to grow so much through my persistence and dedication. At the beginning of 2024, I think it was around January of this year, I saw a video on TikTok. And in the video, I saw a lady reread a quote, which I'm going to share with you. So the quote she read said, "Procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God owes you another chance to do tomorrow what he gave you the chance to do today." I remember when I heard that quote in January, it literally felt as if my stomach had sunk and then my brain had a complete alteration. Like there was this ding, 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 ding in my head that this word was just for you. That the reason why you heard this was because this is a warning for you. That was how it felt in my head. So I think at that time, when the lady read that quote, it changed my mindset and literally changed the trajectory of how I decided to start the year at that point in time. So many times you may have an idea and sit on it for months. And while saying this, I'm speaking from personal experience. Months later, sometime even a year later, you will see someone else doing exactly what you thought about. And we have the tendency of feeling upset because we thought it was such a great idea and it was unique to just us. Sometimes we are literally our own enemies. We think that other people may be judging us for beginning things when these are mental blockages that our minds have created to stop us from achieving our goals. I like to see ideas that we have. I like to visualize it as being like light bulbs. So, back in cartoons from like the early 2000s, if something happens to a character, for example, like in Tom and Jerry, if they get injured, you may visually see a huge splinter pop up from the top of their head. So, when I like to think of ideas, I would like to take it back and relate it to being like an early 2000s animation. So, imagine us as animated beings having an idea and you just see a big light bulb that pops up at the top of our head. When we have that idea, it's still the light bulb is very bright because we're so engrossed in the idea and we're gingered up. Yes, that's the word. We're gingered up because we're excited because this great idea has come to our head. After some couple of weeks, we're thinking, oh, this idea is really great, but I don't have a phone to start this idea. Or this idea is really great. I don't have a book. Or I don't have proper internet. Or I don't have anything. I don't have the materials I think would make this idea go far. This light bulb, it starts to filter and it starts to shake a bit because it's been waiting for us and we keep on saying we don't have this, we don't have that. And we haven't started, by the way. As we keep on waiting and pushing back after some time because no progress or work is being done, I like to visualize the light bulb being able to start like violently shaking. Imagine there's a trip off in lights and then the lights keeps on flicking up and on. So the way you may see in like a horror movie, if someone is playing with the switches, that's what happens to the light bulbs surrounding us from the idea that we got. So the light bulb waits again, stabilizes a bit to see if any progress is going to be made again. And because we keep on saying we still don't have this, we still don't have that, or we're scared of even beginning, the light bulb slowly starts to fade away. So remember, we're looking at this as if we're cartoon characters, but I would like us to really relate this to our everyday lives. As this light bulb begins to fade away, it begins to float to the next person. As the light bulb floats to the next person, the idea is landed in another person's heart. If that idea is landed in another person's heart and the person still makes no effort to manifest that idea and to make it work, is we move to the next person until one person finally manifests that idea for other people to use and grow and learn from. Sometimes multiple people may get the same idea simultaneously, and when no work is done, it goes to the next person and the next person and the next person. So I really believe in the possibility of this analogy because last month I saw a post on Instagram. It was like one of these Instagram ads that keep on popping up on your feed. It was a promotional competition that a Nigerian company was doing, or a new Nigerian foundation was starting with a bunch of other trustees and directors. It was a competition for secondary school students here in Nigeria. And I remember I just started to click on it, which was really random because I'm not in secondary school and it had nothing to do with me. But I decided to click on the opportunities to see what exactly it was about. As I was just reading through, I saw a comment under, and the person who commented under the informational post about the competition said that he thought of something just like the idea a couple of years ago, back when he was in a particular phase of his life, and he just didn't start the idea. From the tone of his comments, you could see that he felt a bit regretful because this was an idea he had thought about according to him and no work and no progress was made towards manifesting that idea to make something. And he had now seen the idea he thought of play out in real time. Although he felt regretful in his own way for not being able to manifest the idea, he also was very supportive. I think he made another comment showing his support and how he would like to support the project that was being played out. Honestly, when I read that comment, I honestly felt really bad for him because he could have been the person pushing forward the idea if he didn't let maybe fear or doubt stop him at that point in time. And if he had just decided to begin, then he may have been the one who was pushing out the projects and having people come to work for him. This is not to say that fear and anxiety doesn't happen to people. I think I may actually know this better than anyone because I know how badly, fear may paralyze someone because they're just not sure of where to begin. But as I mentioned earlier, sometimes our minds are our literal enemies. The things that we're saying other people may be thinking about us, this is our own perspectives that are restricting us from being able to push forward. So sometimes we have to force ourselves to overcome certain things in order for us to accomplish our goals and get to where we see ourselves. I'm currently reading a book by a man called Brian Tracy, and the book is titled The Power of Self Confidence. There's a particular quote in the book when I was reading it that said, if the greatest enemy of self confidence is fear, then the greatest enemy of human achievement is the comfort zone. We sometimes have to make sacrifices in order for us to get to that potential we aim to see ourselves. And sometimes we just have to push out the fear and be like, charge it. We're just going to push on regardless of what's maybe holding or weighing us down. Going back to my ideology of how ideas may flow from people's lives, I still believe that even if someone else ends up doing an idea similar to what you thought of, yours would always be different because you are your own person and you are unique on your own. Because you are a different person, the way you would approach and the way you execute the process of that idea would be different from the way the other person is thinking of. This is why I think that competition even exists in the world and competition exists in economics, because there are so many people who are doing similar things, but their approaches are still different, which is why they all are still remaining in business and coexisting together. If an idea seems overwhelming, what I would advise you to do is to write it out, then begin to break it down into smaller bits. If you think of an idea that is really great and you're just like, where exactly am I supposed to start from? Think it through, you can even sleep on it, but write down the idea as soon as it comes to your mind. I think that writing down ideas as soon as it comes to your mind gives you a better chance and a better likelihood of being able to execute that idea, because I think that when you write things down, the likelihood of it sticking is longer. So write down the idea and sleep on it or ponder on it. When you're done thinking about the idea and you've pondered and slept on it, then break it down into smaller bits. Think of, where do I start from? Where can I get to from here? So from A, how do I get to B? How do I get to C? How do I get to Z? So you can also be thinking of, how does this accommodate my pending schedule? So if you're a student or if you're someone that is working at a full-time job, but this is an idea you really want to pursue, you may start to think to yourself, how do I go about this and not let my other work suffer for my idea that I want to do? What sacrifices may I have to make? Because honestly, life is about sacrifices. In order for you to be able to get to some certain places, there are some certain sacrifices you would need to be able to make in your life in order for you to pursue some of your goals. So if my screen time is maybe like 8 hours, maybe I need to cut it by like 2 hours in order to focus on this target and this goal I've set on it for myself to achieve. So different sacrifices like this may help go a long way in order for you to be able to achieve and accomplish your goals. It's also important to have some sort of reward system in place so that gives you something to look forward to after accomplishing your task. For example, if your goal is to write a book and you want to write the book, you want to finish the book before the end of the year, you could say to yourself, if I write 10 pages of my book today, I can scroll on social media for like 30 minutes or anything of that sort, depending on what goal and what thing you would like to accomplish that you've been procrastinating. So, wow, that is the first episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. I hope you've been able to learn something from me today, something new, even if it's something about me that you were able to learn. And I can't wait to be back with you next week. Please make sure to follow and subscribe. We have a really important guest, a really special guest who will be joining us on next week's episode. And I can't wait for you to hear some of the exciting things we're going to be discussing about. So until then, please make sure to follow. Please share with your family and friends. And I will see you in our next episode. Goodbye.